Shalom Aleichem. Welcome to Breslov web seminar Parshat Vayera. Vayera starts off when after Avram took the Milah, last week's parsha, so he was sick. It takes a few days to heal from the Milah, and Avram was not used to it, not used to being ill because he wanted guests. He always looked for guests. So Hashem sent three angels, three people. They looked like people, but they were three angels, to Avraham, that he should be able to bring them into the house and take care of them, which he did. There were three angels: Michael, the archangel Michael, Michael, Gabriel, and Raphael. Raphael was to heal Avram because he had the wound of the Milah. Michael was sent to tell Avram that they're going to have the child the following year called Yitzchak. And Gabriel was sent to overturn the city of Sodom, which happened later on in the parsha. And Michael did his job. He told him, you're going to have Yitzchak. And Avram rejoiced, and so did Sarah. But Sarah kind of was disbelieving. Hashem was upset with her that she didn't show the true faith that Avram had. But whatever happened, they had the child. But that was later. It was to come. Before that, the angels were sent to overturn the city of Sodom. What was wrong with Sodom? They were cynics. It's not good to be a cynic. Sometimes we all are. Sometimes we're very cynical about what happens with us. But at the same time, they were cynics. Somebody would come to the town of Sodom and say they need lodgings. So they had a bed that they kept outside in the street, and if the person was too short for the bed, they would stretch him out. They were cynical about observing the mitzvah of hospitality. If he was too long for the bed, they would simply try and chop up his feet. And it caused a lot of anguish and difficulties to anyone who passed through their territory. Like somebody who couldn't take, you're not me, I don't want you here. You can't live with a different neighbor, someone who's different. That was the attitude of the Sodomites. There was no charity, and they were very harmful to people. But the thing that sealed their fate was that there was a girl who did some hospitable act, and when the townspeople found out about it, they took her and they smeared her with honey, and then they put her near the beehive so that the bees killed her. That was the final evil act of theirs, in which they deserved death. Their city was overturned. The angels came, they took Lot took them in, Lot took the angels in. They looked like people. He served them. They told him, okay, we're here to save you. And they pulled him out of the city in time. They pulled him out. The famous story of Lot's wife turned into a pillar of salt because she went around the whole night telling the townspeople that we have guests and I need salt. So the Talmud says she was turned into the pillar of salt, because whatever a person does, he usually gets paid back in kind. Anyway, Lot ran to the hills, and he thought that the entire world was destroyed. So did his daughters. And he went into a cave, and he found a bottle of wine, right? Of all the things to find in a cave, you find a bottle of wine, or a casket of wine, whatever it may be. And he drank the wine, he got drunk. And his daughters enticed him, and he slept with his daughters, and he had two nations, Moab and Ammon. Moab is like from my father, That was the eldest daughter. And the other one is Ammon, from me, from within us. Those are the two tribes that were fathered by Lot. Though he was wicked, right? He didn't think that his wickedness would turn into incest, but he did it. And that's how these two nations who became bitter enemies of the Jews later on, and they're the ones who helped in the destruction of the temple and whatnot. All this from being saved because of the merit of Avraham. So you never know how life is going to turn out. You always have to worry about, wonder. No good deed is ever unpunished. That's what the folk saying is. No such thing as a good deed going unpunished. So Avram's merit saved Ammon and Moab, saved Lot and his daughters, and they came out with enemies of the Jews and whatnot. And that's the way it's been throughout all of history. But the parsha then ends on a most incredible note. Yitzchak was born, the bearer of the Jewish nation, the father of Yaakov, who bore the Jewish nation. And Yitzchak is from the word tzachok, laughter and joy, because when he was born, many other barren women gave birth and whatnot. And that's the way it always is too. Whenever there's something good that happens, we have to know that it's going to be shared, right? We don't have to be selfish. We have to be careful to look at things with a good eye and let it happen. But now that Yishmael was around, he was 14 at the time, 14 years older than Yitzchak, and he was the big brother, right? We all know what big brother is. And he almost always torments his younger brother. It's just natural, right? Even if the kid is 14 years older, sometimes 3 years older, 6 years older, okay. He's 14 years older, you still got to torment him. And Yishmael tormented Yitzchak. And he used to argue with him. I'm the firstborn, I have the birthright, everything doesn't belong to me, you're only secondary. And he used to torment him and torture him. And Sarah said, listen, if we're going to have the Jewish nation, you can't be with Yishmael. Yishmael is not going to take. And Avram sent him away, right? And here we see one of the most incredible twists of history. Yishmael was sick at the time. Hagar, his mother, carried him, a 14-year-old boy. She carried him out into the desert. And he was dying from heat, from temperature. And he was thirsty. He wanted a drink. It's in the desert. There's no water. And he cried out to Hashem. Yishmael cried out to Hashem. And as Rashi explains, it's a Gemara, it's a Medrash, that the angels said, God, do not accept his prayers. Do not accept them. Because in the future, when the temple is destroyed, he is going to torment and cause the Jewish nation to die of thirst. So how could you save him now? God said, at the moment, he's not as wicked that he deserves death. He doesn't deserve it. He's now okay. If he's okay now, we'll spare his life. God spared his life, and he did all the evil deeds that he did then, just as he is doing now with ISIS and all that kind of stuff. So you have the template of what life is all about. You could sometimes spare a life, like many people plead today on behalf of all the criminals, the murderers, the rapists, and whatnot, child rapists. Right? The people plead on their behalf, save their life. And if you ever give them a chance, they go out and they murder again, and they do it again. Still, Hashem says, take the person as he is as of this moment. So if the guy is clear-cut murderer, then murder him, finish it. What do you need to keep him around for? Especially at taxpayer's expense, right? But what are you doing? No, Hashem will listen. Hashem will spare a person. Maybe because he's not that bad now, even though we know that in the future, if he's given a chance, he's going to get worse and worse and worse, as we see it developing today. The parsha then goes into a meeting between Avraham and Avimelech. Avimelech went to the land of the Plishtim, and the Plishtim, he lived there for a long time. Avram dug wells, and he provided water, and the locals took them away from him. They took away his water wells that he dug, till finally he found a place, he found some peace, and he was able to dig. It was okay. Right? And then Avimelech made a truce with Avram. And they said, okay, I make the truce with you. You will not attack my children again. And later on, some 500-600 years later, even more maybe. No, it's close to 750 years later, when King David took over the city of Jerusalem. Jerusalem then was occupied by Philistines. Because of the covenant between Avraham and Avimelech some 750 years earlier, King David did not directly attack Yerushalayim. His chief of staff, Yoav, found a way to do it, but they stuck to the pact. And then, the end of the parsha tells us about the Akedas Yitzchak, the binding of Isaac. And that in itself is the most amazing test, a test that was given to Avram Avinu. The test was such that the Medrash says, God pleaded with Avram, I'm going to give you a test now to sacrifice your son. Please keep it. Stand by the trial, so that people shouldn't say the others were nothing, and he failed this. He really didn't the others weren't really tests either. So Avram Avinu went out knowing he's got to take his son and sacrifice him. Chapter 22, verse 3, Bayom HaShlishi, on the third day, Vayera Hamokim Merochik. Avram saw the place from afar. The Medrash says, what did he see? He saw Mount Moriah. He saw the mountain where the temple would be built, and that his descendants would be serving God on that mountain. So that's Merachok, from afar. He says, but how could that be? Right now, I'm close to it. Right now, I see it, and I'm taking Yitzchak to kill him, and there won't be any tribe. There won't be any future. There won't be any generations. And that, Reb Nosson writes in Likutei Halachos, was one of the greatest tests that Avram Avinu ever faced. He says, he knows it's going to happen. The temple will be built, the Jews will be there, and the land will be in the hands of the Jews. And yet, at the moment, he sees only black and only difficulties and only problems. And that's the way we're supposed to live, says Reb Nosson. Understand, you have faith, Hashem will work it out, that it'll all be good, and at the end, Hashem will help, that we'll all see the good that was promised to Avram and Yitzchak, then at the binding of Isaac. Amen.